it's always going to be that way. When you're trying to sign a top level athlete and they believe they're worth more than what they are.
So for me personally speaking, I don't really have any horror stories or know anyone on the media side that has had the same. And he was like, yeah, like we'll take care of him. The last thing I need is this guy coming and knocking on my door looking for a bonus.
I was going to ask you about the Francis situation here in a little bit,
Yeah.
but look, your negotiations with Dana could go sour real quick, and you could all of a sudden be the biggest jerk and the biggest asshole and the hardest person to deal with in the world. But as soon as you sign, you're the greatest guy ever. Right. And just so we're clear, this goes across every platform. You hear about it all the time. You know, Micah Parsons is now in Green Bay because Dallas just couldn't get the deal done. And it's always, he's so difficult to deal with. They're so hard. I live here in Dallas now. Let me just tell you all the stuff that was being said. It was, it's so hard. He's just not easy to work with. And I thought we had a deal done. And it's always going to be that way. When you're trying to sign a top level athlete and they believe they're worth more than what they are, and the person who is paying the check or writing the check and signing that check is like, look, I got to go a little bit lower. This is where I'm at right now. And you're not going to always see eye to eye. You know, it's how much does that fighter want to be there and how much does the athlete want to stay in that organization? But, you know, and that goes to the Francis thing. I look at, did you hear all the stuff that was going on with Francis? Okay.
Yeah.
You know, for me, I said, look, I've been in those conversations with Joe Silva, Dana White, in those conversations about, man, this guy's horrible to deal with. He's so hard. He's a bad person, or he just wants too much. He's just delusional. You expect those criticism when it comes to negotiations. But what you also should expect is if you put your hands on me, that's a big difference. There's a huge difference between putting your hands on somebody and like just having words with somebody. And I've never heard anything bad about Francis ever by any fighter that's been in the gym at Extreme Tours. Big John has always talked highly of him. I've only met him a couple times, but I've only talked to him for maybe 5-10 minutes at the max, and just in passing, not just like kind of like the ear in the middle of like a group of 4 of us, you know, having a conversation. Right. What has been your experience with Francis?
Same, only positive. I've gone into Extreme Couture unannounced because Eric Nixick has invited me in at critical times before John Jones fought Cyril Gane, which is obviously like a very critical time around Francis too, because he had just given up the title and moving on. Like, he gladly gave me an interview that was, exclusive, very important at that time. I'd be in Saudi Arabia covering his boxing fights. He's taken extra time for me, so he's always been gracious in my experience. Yeah, like, so for me personally speaking, I don't really have any horror stories or know anyone on the media side that has had the same. This is an interesting one just because it seems a little odd that like Dana would come tell this story 7-8 years later, and not odd that, you know, like for the people saying that he would make it up, right? Like, I don't think he would come out this many years later and fabricate something like this. Maybe Dana embellished an element here or there, as he's been known to do, sure. But you kind of look back on the timeline, because after he said this, someone tagged me in a clip from the post-fight press conference after UFC 218, where Francis Ngannou knocked out Alistair Overeem, one of the greatest knockouts in MMA history, and did not get a performance of the night bonus. That night, they gave out 2 fight of the nights, one to Justin Gaethje versus Eddie Alvarez, the other one to Yancy Medeiros versus someone, and the name is escaping me. And I asked Dana at the post-fight press conference, like, did usually when you've given out 2 fight of the night bonuses, you've like given out a performance of the night or something, you obviously didn't bonus Francis. Are you going to help him out here a little bit? And he was like, yeah, like we'll take care of him. The last thing I need is this guy coming and knocking on my door looking for a bonus. And so in hindsight, you hear that clip, you're like, oh shit, he was dropping a hint about something there. No one obviously picked up on it at the time, but to hear that back now, you're like, okay. Like, you know, the two strings come together there on that one. Yeah. So again, I want to give Francis the benefit of the doubt. I do think it is odd that almost a week later, he's not come out defending himself to this, which can be telling in its own right, or him on his team. Maybe they're just hoping it blows over. But you look at Francis's track record, Dana says something about him. He sends a tweet. He does an interview with TMZ, whatever. There's been none of that. So you can make of that what you will.
I said sometimes silence could say the answer, and we haven't heard Francis respond back, and he's very quick to respond back on normally when Dana says something about him. So like, I'm going to let sleepy dogs lie in this situation, like it's been this long, but it does make sense when you look back. And I think the fighter you're thinking of is Oliveira.
Yes. Alex Oliveira.
Yes, there you go. Yeah, that was a.
First fight in UFC history where both guys landed 2 knockdowns in a
It
fight.
was insane. It
Yeah.
was insane. I'm surprised they didn't get 2 bonuses for that fight. I mean, they knocked 10 years off their lives, both of them.